Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your community engagement, solidarity, and citizen subject. This is still your instructor, Mr. Crip Anthony E. Ramos, and for this session, we'll be talking about community dynamics and processes. Okay, so let's start this discussion by knowing about the dominant analytical approaches in studying community dynamics and processes. So there are three. So if you would really want to study community dynamics or yung mga bagay na meron kinalaman sa komunidad, no? Paano nagbabago ito, paano sila nagsasagawa ng kanilang pang-araw-araw na gawain. And definitely these are the following dominant analytical processes. So first, we have what we call as the community relations. So community relations, to give an insight, but we will be discussing more about this later. So if we're talking about community relations, ano nga ba ang ugnayan ng mga tao rito? Sino yung merong connection sa taong ito? Sa taong ito halimbawa, or say for example sa grupo ng tao na ito at sa isang grupo pa na ito. So definitely this would encompass in community relations. We also have what we call as leadership. So in a community, we all know that there are actually leaders, no? Otherwise there would be chaos, no? Na there is someone who would actually dictate or who would actually do his or her best so that the aspirations of the community would actually put into action. And of course, we also have what we call as the social change. So let's discuss this one by one. So let's start our discussion on this analytical approaches by looking into two kinds of power structure first. So we have what we call as the formal power structure. So if we're talking about the formal power structure, this is actually the form of power structure in which it actually form the legal authoritative basis of elected and appointed government officials and leaders of civic organizations. So from the word itself, format, no? Kailangan meron kang sinusunod dito na na proseso at batas, no? Para malaman natin kung sino yung elected at yung mga tao na kailangan maglingkod. Let me give an example. Here in the Philippines, definitely informal power structure natin, nalalaman natin na ang presidente ng Pilipinas ay siyang binoboto ng karamihan sa mga Pilipino, no? Ganon din halimbawa sa barangay. Kung sino yung nakakuha ng pinakamalaking boto, no, definitely that would actually be elected as the barangay captain. And yung barangay captain natin, of course, he has actually the power of appointing, no, some government officials, just like the barangay secretary and the barangay treasurer. Ganyan din halimbawa sa inyong sangguniang kabataan. Just in case in the future, you might actually be interested in running for SK. Definitely, if ikaw ay nanalo ng SK chairman or SK chairwoman, you actually have the power to appoint your secretary and your treasurer. No? And of course, yung mga civic organizations, they are also following some bylaws and even constitution kung meron man, no? Itong mga civic organizations. So since meron ka sinusundan na na pamantayan, this would actually be called as formal power structure. Second, we also have what we call as the informal power structure. So this exists alongside the formal institutional power structure and is an equally significant factor in a community's development, no? Kasi itong mga tao na ito na nag-exercise nito, definitely wala man silang pamantayan or wala mang formal na pagkakaluklok sa kanila, they're actually significant pa rin, no? So those are the two kinds of power structure. Now, let's talk about yung mga mga under nito, lalo sa may formal ones, no? So legal authoritative decision makers, these are the individuals or bodies whose authority is based on formal rules and institutions. Examples of this would actually be your city mayors, your legislative council members, and even your barangay captains. No? Kagaya ng sinabi ko kanina, itong mga taong ito ay hindi pwedeng maluklok sa pwesto. Hindi sila pwedeng makapagdesisyon without the mandate of the citizens. No? Hindi sila pwedeng maging mayor lang basta-basta dahil trip lang nila. They can only be mayors, they can only be councilors, they can be barangay captains if the people will trust them and will give them their votes. No? So take note lamang na sa konteksto ng Pilipinas, definitely kailangan ikaw ay makakuha ng pinakamataas na boto laban sa mga kalaban. Okay? And these legal authoritative decision makers, they occupy positions of authority through legally mandated processes. Kagaya na sinabi ko kanina, sa kontekstong yun, of course, magyayari ito kapag meron tinatawag na eleksyon. Or kung meron halimbawa yung sa secretary at saka treasurer, there should be a formal political appointments. No? So take note class that dahil ito, no, they are legal authoritative decision makers, kapag meron silang pinagdesisyonan at meron silang sinabi, kailangan itong masunod because again, they actually have the authority. No? So just take note also class, no, baka magkagulo kayo in the future kasi lalong-lalo ngayon sa ating politika, merong kaguluhan, no, na parang may tumutuligsa na appointed official doon sa elected official. Take note class, no, just a trivia. Kapag ikaw ay elected official, definitely mas mabigat ang position mo compared doon sa mga appointed ones, no? Bakit? Kasi ikaw yung hinalalan ng tao. Ang mga appointed ones, sila lang ay in-appoint na mang-elect ng tao. So definitely, hindi basta-bastang questionin ng appointed officials yung mga elected officials because yung elected officials, they are the ones that are actually mandated by the people. No? At itong appointed ones, sila lang yung pinagkatiwalaan ng taong pinagkatiwalaan ng mga mamamayan. No? That's why yung ating yung ating mga elected officials, they are actually more compared of course sa ating mga appointed ones. We also have what we call as the influencers. So influencers, they are individuals or groups who do not have direct authority, but they are also capable of shaping decisions that affect the community, no? Marami tayo nito, lalong-lalo ngayong panahon ng pandemya, no, sumikat, no, be it halimbawa maging vloggers, no, be it halimbawa yung mga artista, they don't actually have the authority. Pero pag sinabi nila halimbawa na ito yung aking ito halimbawa yung aking pananaw ukol dyan sa issue na yan, definitely may mga tao na maapektuhan yung kanilang pananaw on that situation. Well, let me give you another example. Hindi ba? Meron tayong usapin halimbawa sa mga BTS ngayon, no? Sa BTS in which, no, kapag halimbawa tumutuligsa yung isang institusyon or yung isang halimbawa yung isang kumpanya sa BTS, bakit may mga ilan na pumitiklop, no? It is simply because no, malakas ang impluwensya halimbawa ng mga grupong ito kagaya halimbawa ng BTS, no? And if in the future, no, say for example may mga artista, may mga grupo halimbawa ng artista na or mga vloggers na gustong mga alam, no, in terms of politics and even in the community, definitely they also have this power because they can propose, pressure, and affect decisions that are being made by legal authoritative decision makers according to their interests and even agenda. Okay? So leadership, this would actually refers to the processes and qualities of command and decisiveness with regard to the necessary actions that ensure the welfare of the community. Just like what I've told you earlier. So if we're talking about leadership, no, meron itong kinalaman, no, sa mga tao na nanunungkulan sa ating bansa, no? Let me give you an example. Sa ating barangay, hindi ba? Dahil ito'y yung pinakamaliit na na LG unit, yung barangay natin ngayon, there are actually different problems, no? There are community problems, there are community issues that actually requires us to attend to, no? Kailangan natin ito masolusyonan, otherwise we would actually be not successful in dealing with this. At paano mangyayari ito? Of course, mangyayari ang mga inisyatibong ito kung magkakaroon ng isang leader na kung saan siya ang magsasabi, no, kung ano mga ba yung dapat nating gawin based of course aspirations din ng mga tao. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. So just like what I've mentioned, no, so definitely kailangan magkaroon ng isang leader na kung saan meron siyang command and decisiveness in order for us to start the necessary actions. Pero take note din na hindi pwede sa lahat ng pagkakataon ay maraming leaders. No? Siyempre sa isang barangay, meron tayong barangay captain na nag-oversee ng lahat ng mga bagay so that matiwasay na matatapos yung mga dapat tapusin. Kasi siyempre, kung lahat ay nagdedesisyon, of course, hindi rin ito maganda. Bakit? Siyempre kapag nagdesisyon yung isa, taliwas sa isa, automatically there would actually be conflict at matatagalan yung ating proseso at yung ating magiging hakbangin. No? So that would actually be leadership. So since we are already through with discussing leadership, let's now talk about community leaders. So community leaders are individuals selected, nominated, and appointed as stewards, vanguards, and champions of issues that are relevant to a community. No? So these are also individuals that demonstrate skills, capacities, and attitudes that are critical in steering the community towards their goals and aspirations, and they also have the ability to mobilize capacities to influence critical actors and local partners in solving that confront a community. So take note class, no, laging sinasabi natin na kapag mga leaders, no, they're actually your champions, no, yung champions ng ating mga hakbangin. No? Let me give you an example. Kung sa komunidad halimbawa, no, punong-puno ng basura, no, ang magsisimula dapat niyang parate ay yung leader natin na magsabi na, guys, sumunod kayo, no, so that we will be able to do this, no. Pero you might ask me a question, sir, hindi po ba pwedeng questionin yung leader pagdating po halimbawa sa kanyang mga desisyon? Of course, they can actually be questioned and even criticized because that is actually the blessings of a blessing of democracy, no? Pwede kayo mag-suggest, pero ang point dito is kung sino yung leader nyo, yung community leader nyo, they would actually be the ones na magsasabi kung ano yung final say and final decision as to the steps on how you will be able to resolve the issue. Okay, so let's talk about now the social change, and it occurs for a number of reasons. It can be due to the opposing and contradicting forces within a community, leading to the alteration of its condition and structural dimensions. It may also encompass a range of social civic outcomes, such as the increased understanding of the community, attitudinal change, changes in the configuration in civic participation, the building of public trust, or changes in the policy that retributes or distributes the community's material resources. It may also be observed when there is a significant observable difference between past and current conditions in community life. And that's it for our discussion about the community dynamics and processes. And let me now grab this opportunity to thank everyone for attending our session. And I will see you all next week on our succeeding session. So thank you, everyone, and have a great week ahead of you.